Facebook, keep in mind a bear market from highs, still appreciably above where the stock had been. Let's get the read on all of this with UBS Senior Vice President of Investments, Jim Lacamp. We've also got Oxbow Advisors Managing Partner, Ted Oakley. Ted, much is made of a moment and a snapshot for some of these issues, not all, is a downdraft that has some wondering whether the great correction or worse has come for these issues. Do you buy that?
Well, I don't know if it's the great correction or not, Neil. I think what's happened here is people look at it and take the most negative approach to it and assume that, they're going to deep six all of these all of a sudden. But typically a bear market in these things is like 2000 was, where, they sort of go down, they rally up, they go down, they rally up. And I don't think you're in a crash mode or something like that.
Jim, how are you playing this? I mean, you look at it, the history on some of these issues, not all of them, is when they have a sell-off, smart investors have come in and bid them back up again. Not all the time, but enough of the time that you kick yourself if you don't, head back in. What do you do?
Well, look, I mean, these hearings are just a microcosm of all the things that are going on with these companies. Remember, we've seen subscriber bases flatten out with companies like Facebook and with like Netflix. And this isn't like cell phones, where you're going to replace your product every 3 or 4 years and people are going to go buy the new product and then you have a new sales cycle. When you have a Facebook account, you have a Facebook account. So sooner or later, your subscriber base was going to flatten out. Then you had privacy issues. Then you had all this talk about censorship and whether they were leaning left and censoring out right-leaning people. You had a lot of people that weren't too happy about this. So I think there's a lot of things going on. And remember, young people are very fickle. So, and just ask MySpace if you don't believe me. And some of these things might go into some sort of obsolescence. But I think this space will be there. It's a matter of whether they're the growth companies that they used to be. If you just look at their subscriber bases, all you have to do is that, and you'll see that things are already changing there.
Ted, it's not as if people who are leery of these social media companies, have no other choices. The technology sphere, they can park their money in Amazon, they can look at Microsoft, they can look at those that have been similarly high performers that, though down today, have not, had nearly the fall off that some of these others have. How do you play this?
Well, we don't come back into these stocks. These stocks have been leaders the market. I mean, we own some of them now in reduced positions to what we used to have, I will tell you. But when you take 5 or 6 stocks or half of the market return this year, you have to start looking at that. And it's very reminiscent of 99 for me. I mean, if you look at the top 10 stocks in 99.
Or the difference there is that a lot of the companies that were running up fast and furious in that internet boom didn't have any earnings or anything to back them up in the run-up. You could argue today, Jim, these issues do, or maybe has that all been priced in and now priced out?
I think you have to look at, at all of these stocks as a bifurcating group. I mean, look, if these stocks flatten out, if your subscriber growth rates flatten out with things like Facebook and Snap and all these other Twitter, social media, that doesn't mean we're not evolving technologically. I mean, if you look at the semiconductor stocks, a lot of them are hitting new highs right now, even while the NASDAQ sells off. So I think what we're seeing now is a group where you bought anything that was related to tech, and now that's changing. It's bifurcating, and you're going to have some winners and losers, and that's healthy for the market. So what we do, if we're looking for growth companies, we look at the companies that are still exhibiting signs of growth, and there's a tremendous amount of technology companies. Look at some of these leading semiconductor stocks right now that are still showing the growth. So if you're looking for growth, you go there. If you're looking for value, you're going to go other places. Right now, it might be that some of these social media stocks are in between these areas, and they're very tough to play.
So real quickly, by growth, in the semiconductor, you're talking the AMDs and those kind of issues? Is that it?
Yeah, and there are a lot in that group. I mean, if you look at simply the charts of NVIDIA and AMD and several others in the semiconductor group, a lot of them are at or near all-time highs, even while the NASDAQ is selling off.
Ted, your quick take on that?
Well, we don't necessarily look for that. I think people don't realize that the tariffs with China are probably going to really eventually affect the free cash flow margins of a lot of the tech companies as well. It hasn't worked its way in yet, but we see that happening over time.
All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you both. All right, in the meantime, we're still keeping on top of this Tesla investigation, and